it's Aerith here, your favorite dragon. And I'm here today to bring you my Season 4 Mythic Plus Preservation Evoker Guide. Now, it is definitely a Resto Druid meta. That said, Preservation is a very, very strong second choice. And if you don't have a less in the party, I would say it's probably the best choice. Preservation is very, very good into this entire dungeon pool. Feels like all of these dungeons were kind of just made for Preservation. Um, yeah, that said, a lot of this information is going to be kind of repeated from the season 3 guide because not a ton has changed. That said, I have grown quite a lot as a player, and I think I have a lot that I could add that wasn't necessarily in that guide. So definitely feel free to stick around. Before we get into it though, make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube and that you're following me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/ilashtv, where you can find me doing Mythic Plus pretty much 5 days a week, 4 days a week. I don't know. Really just depends on my mood. That said, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So here we go. Why should you play Preservation? It is definitely a Resto Druid meta. That said, we do have a lot of strengths that outshine Resto Druid. We have much higher burst healing than Resto Druid. We are much more versatile than Resto Druid. We also have powerful rot healing, which does tend to be the thing that Resto Druid excels at. We're not quite as good as Resto Druids at rot fights, but we are very, very strong into rot, stronger than most of the other healing options that are out there. There's a lot of room for skill expression with this class. We have powerful cooldowns, if that's your thing. We're very GCD efficient, meaning that we can get our damage off very quickly. If we need to, we can top our entire team in just one global or a couple of globals. We're also very tanky if when played properly. We bring Lust, and of course, we are very flashy and unique. Here's some of the weaknesses. We are very punishing. Our single target sustain is actually improved quite a lot with our 4-set. This is kind of a holdover from Season 3 when our single target sustain was not very good. I would say that we're actually one of the stronger single target sustain healers now just because of our 4-set and because of the nature of Golden Hour. Our single target damage, though, is not quite as good as Resto Druid, but is kind of like similar to a lot of the other options, if not better. Our range, though, is the biggest thorn in our side. It is absolutely terrible. And of course, we do require our team to stack during some high intensity moments. That said, if you're playing really well, you will be able to outplay even the weakest of kind of the weakest positionally aware, we could say spatially aware teammate that you have. It's a clip. I just really like this. This is from Season 1. You can see the thundering thing up here. All right, let's talk about our stats. So we pretty much just want to have equal stats across the board. All of our stats are good. Mastery is the one stat that we kind of have a little bit of, we're a little bit finicky about. If you feel like your healing is really, really strong, you could drop Mastery and you could pick up more crits. And or reverse if you want to be a little bit tankier. I also would recommend that you have 25 to 28% haste. You could go as high as 30% haste in keys where you feel like single target healing is a bit of an issue, Neltharis being one of them on Fortified. Having 30% haste in Fortified Neltharis is really good. It allows you to get out those echoes into reversions on the targets of the bleeds that the hunters do really quickly. If you don't have enough haste, you will of course just press echo and then they will die because the next tick will happen. You want to be able to beat that that first tick and still press echo into reversion. So that's kind of the one stat that I think is pretty finicky. You drop your haste a little bit into like heavy rot damage. So Kajin, Halls of Infusion in general, I go down on haste to around 24, 25%. And I pick up a little more mastery, a little bit more crit, a little bit more versa, and all these stats are quite potent. Let's talk about our talents. So these are the talents that I am pretty much always recommending. The one talent that you're allowed to drop is the modifier of Renewing Blaze. So you can drop this and you can pick up an AoE Soothe. You can pick up a bit of CC. Or you can pick up you know, some CDR on your knock. You're just dropping this in order to get like whatever it is that you need. You can get CDR on your knock up as well if that's kind of your speed. The one thing that I would say you can change is you could drop the increased essence regeneration for landslide and the Disintegrate talent, but you're really only going to do this if you're playing um this one. Geez, brain not currently functioning. Energy loop. There we go. And you would play this in the event that you feel you are kind of losing out on mana. You feel like you're struggling with mana. You play energy loop, and you play the other modifier in the class tree. Let's talk a little bit about consumables. Howling and buzzing rooms are both pretty good. I would say that corrupting rage potion is probably the go-to in most situations because it's just got a better budget than versatility. That said, if you have low versatility, and by low I mean 15% or less, you will want to pick up that versatility file. You could use a shocking disclosure potion in AoE if you want. That said, for the most part, you're going to be using the elemental power potion even in AoE. And it really needs to be mass AoE to get value out of that shocking disclosure potion. And in a lot of situations, you kind of just want to be saving your potion for a mana potion, just in case things go south. So if you ever expect that you might need a mana potion, it's better to just hold because we're not actually getting a ton of damage out of using these elemental potions of ultimate power. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about our tier set. Our tier set does modify our gameplay quite a bit currently. We want to be casting our reversions and echoing reversions as frequently as humanly possible. We want to have out tons and tons of reversions at all times because every time we cast an empower spell, those reversions get turbo juiced and become very, very powerful and potent. Also, those are going to be giving us these 4-step procs. The 4-step procs are really, really, really strong. It's a buff called Life Spark. Little spoiler alert, and War Within, this is actually turning into a talent. It's incredibly versatile, incredibly powerful. These Life Spark procs can be turned into these, it can be used as a really big single target heal. You can echo them to get a really, really big AoE heal onto the party. You can just Temporal Anomaly into Life Spark proc. You could just use it as a damage, a way to deal increased damage. There's a lot of stuff you can do. And a lot of times you want to be pooling 2 charges of it going into either damage events or just pulling 2 charges of it going into a pack where you feel like you're going to be doing a lot of damage. Some slight playstyle adjustments. Actually, I don't need to talk too much about that. The only real playstyle adjustment is that we're going to be echoing more reversions and using those Life Spark procs. So let's talk about the general playstyle and rotation. So our critical abilities are Echo and Temporal Anomaly. The first 2 I want to talk about. These echo the next spell that you cast. A naturally cast echo is going to echo the spell at a really, really good rate. It's going to be more powerful than the actual spell itself was. Temporal Anomaly is going to apply 5 echoes, so it's going to apply echo to your entire party. But these echoes are going to be very much diminished. So whenever you can do like natural echoes into whatever it is you want to use those echoes for. Typically our natural echoes we're using for reversions, or lifeline windows, and a temporal anomaly we're using to echo Dream Breath. Pretty much always echoing Dream Breath with that. Spirit Bloom's a nice little catch-up spell. You can use it just to AoE. You can just use it into like an AoE damage event. You can also echo Spirit Bloom if you want to do a massive like kind of AoE lay on hands into just a damage event that's just like boom, like one huge massive amount of damage. Yeah. Burn Embrace we're basically just using for our Dream Breath buff to get Call of Ysera. We could also use Verdant Embrace to buff a single Living Flame to get a really, really big juiced Living Flame. If you have a Life Spark proc, which is of course our 4 set, and someone has Echo Reversion and Reversion on them, and then you Verdant Embrace into a Living Flame on somebody, you can hit as high as 1.5 million. That's the biggest one that I've seen. Very, very powerful single target heal. You'll probably never really need something that's quite that big, but that is an option. So let's talk a little bit about how we actually heal. So our maintenance healing is pretty straightforward. We're going to maintain double Dream Breath as frequently as possible using our double Dream Breath Stasis combo. First line of defense after double Dream Breath is to be Echo Reversioning. We can use our 4-step procs to heal heavily injured party members. And we're going to Verdant Embrace off cooldown for the Call of Ysera buff, which we will be using, of course, to buff our Dream Breath. So let me just show you a little bit of what this looks like. Basically, our our stasis combo is pretty much always gonna look something like this. We're gonna Verdant Embrace, Stasis, Temporal Anomaly, Dream Breath, and Spirit Bloom. And so what this does is it gives us double Dream Breath on the entire party. You can see here I am fully hotted. I have 2 iterations of Echo Reversion, or of Reversion, and 2 iterations of Dream Breath. So look, oh no, my Dream Breath has fallen off, so I want to Verdant Embrace. Now I want to release the Stasis. And look at that, we have double Dream Breath once more. So once this has happened, we're going to be filling in the gaps with our Spirit Globals by pressing Echo Reversion, Echo Reversion. If we need to, we can send out our Life Spark proc. And now look at this. Oh no, our double Dream Breath is falling off. So we can Verdant Embrace for Call of Ysera buff, as you see up here. Temporal Anomaly Dream Breath, and the same thing goes. We have double Dream Breath once more. There will be very, very small windows where you cannot have a double Dream Breath on your entire party. And basically we just want to use our other abilities to kind of fill in the gaps when this is happening. We can Fire Breath to full for like a full Leaping Flames to hit everyone with our Leaping Flames. We can go into a Lifeline window on the full party and put something big in the Lifeline window. We'll talk a little bit about some of these other options here in just a moment. The important thing that you note going into this is that we're basically going to be sending out every single Dream Breath buffed by Verdant Embrace and buffed by Temporal Anomaly. So every Dream Breath, we Verdant Embrace first, and we Temporal Anomaly first, and then we Dream Breath. And that's pretty much the size of it. It's very rare that you actually want to just press Living Flame without a 4-set buff or 4-set proc. So definitely, like, I don't even think you ever have to do that. If you're doing that, there's almost guarantee there's something better you could have been doing. So burst healing can be pretty simple or complex. I mean, we can just press rewind. We can also make use of some interesting combos. We can Temporal Anomaly into Spirit Bloom potentially if we just need a huge, huge burst of healing. Or we can enter into a Lifeline window for big burst healing. We'll talk a little bit in depth about Lifeline here in a moment. One thing I wanted to note is that no matter what type of healing you're doing, what you're pressing, you always want to play around your mastery. This season, you will have something to the tune of 50 to 80% more healing done to party members if you do have higher health than they do. So make sure that you always, always, always have higher health than your teammates. The way that we ensure this is that we are pressing Obsidian Scales into painful damage events. We are always going to have Echo Reversion and Reversion on ourselves. And we're going to make really, really good use, of course, of Renewing Blaze into rot damage. So our Scales usage, our Renewing Blaze usage, these are the things that are going to ensure that we have really, really good uptime of our mastery. And our mastery is incredibly important. Incredibly important. You never want to send like a big healing into your teammates if your health is lower than theirs. So let's talk a little bit about our combos. So we talked about like kind of the basic combo that we're going to be doing with putting double Dream Breath on everyone and then spreading reversions. A little bit more setup to get more in depth. Before damage events, 15 seconds out specifically, we can Temporal Anomaly. And then right before that damage event starts, we can pre-apply reversions by cashing in on those echoes with a reversion. Maybe echo someone else, reversion, echo someone else, reversion. And then the damage event's about to start. So we can Verdant Embrace, Verdant Embrace, Temporal Anomaly, Dream Breath, and then Spirit Bloom if we need be. That's kind of our basic ramp, our basic combo that we do quite a lot. Now we also have Lifeline ramping and Lifeline combos, which we're going to get into shortly. Let's talk a little bit about ramping first. If we ramp our echoes naturally, this is of course the strongest way. These echoes are much stronger than Temporal Anomaly echoes. So you always want to use these in the event of a Lifeline window in particular. And you also want to use these when you're just kind of spreading a lot of reversions, or if you just plan on having some like massive cataclysmic damage event coming and you want to just echo Dream Breath naturally. It's very rare that I actually do that. Mostly I'm natty ramping echoes into a Lifeline window or natty ramping to spend on a bunch of reversions before my typical combos go out. So yeah, speaking again about the combos, always Verdant Embrace before Dream Breath, always Temporal Anomaly before Dream Breath. But also keep in mind that Verdant Embrace is the only way that we can enter into Lightbind. So you always want to make sure that you have Verdant Embrace available if the way that you're planning on healing a damage event is with a Lightbind combo. Lightbind windows can be very bursty. They can basically like immune your team to damage for 4 or 5 seconds. There's a lot of things you can do into a Lightbind window. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that. Oh, let's talk about TA first. Temporal Anomaly is like pretty simple. You want to cast it off cooldown. If you're basically like you want a TA reversion like really frequently this season because you want lots and lots of reversions out. This gives you the Life Spark procs, which gives you a lot of damage. It also gives you a lot of spot healing. You can also Temporal Anomaly into Burden Embrace for a really quick Lifeline window if you don't have time to naturally ramp. This is something that I would say I do less often. Usually it's like an emergency if I do this. It's like, oh shit, like something this cast just went off and I need to suddenly come up with a lot of healing that I wasn't planning on because the cooldowns I'm going to use are going to heal the damage event that's right after. I might very quickly Temporal Anomaly, Verdant Embrace to enter Lightbind and then send out maybe 2 Life Spark procs into myself inside of that Lightbind window. But typically, like when we enter into a Lightbind window, we want to use natural echoes to make our Lightbind window very powerful. TA Spirit Bloom is something that you can do into bosses that just hit your party really hard for 3 seconds and then do absolutely nothing. So you can think like in Halls of Infusion, the first boss, or the Frog boss, like both of these bosses, like they just hit your party really hard for a couple seconds and then they leave you alone. So you can TA Spirit Bloom in these contexts. But pretty much always every Dream Breath paired with a TA, Dream Breath off cooldown. Always if you have Stasis available and you have TA available, you Verdant Embrace, Stasis, Temporal Anomaly, Dream Breath, do that combo repeatedly. One interesting thing is you can actually empower Dream Breath beyond 1. That said, for newer players, just sending it on 1 every time is pretty much okay. But as you get stronger and stronger as a player, you'll kind of see these little angles where you can empower Dream Breath a little bit more to get more upfront healing. But yeah, mostly just send it on 1, almost always. Let's talk about Lightbind. So Lightbind is when we use the spell Verdant Embrace to bond our life with an ally, causing healing on either partner to heal the other for 40% of the amount. So every time that I Verdant Embrace someone, I create a Lightbind window between myself and them where healing happening to them happens to me, healing happening to me happens to them. This window lasts for 5 seconds. You can echo Verdant Embrace, which means that you can echo Lightbind onto your full party if need be. This is a really powerful thing that you can use for all sorts of different ends. Lightbind windows are basically just another sort of cooldown. It's a way to do burst healing. And it's a way to kind of immune your team from damage if you have the proper things available. Some interesting things that I would like to note is that you can actually health potion for a teammate. Let's say like someone gets hit by a bolt. You can very quickly Verdant Embrace them to open a Lightbind window and then press health potion. And if you're using the really big withering potions, which I recommend that you do as Evoker for the most part, it's going to be a huge heal on them. You basically just health pop for them. There's a lot of times when I'll just like spread echoes, then Verdant Embrace myself to like give everyone Lightbind, and then everyone takes a bunch of damage, and I just health potion. And it's basically as if I've health potion for effectively the entire team. It's really powerful, really interesting mechanic. Anything that you can do to yourself that heals you is going to get replicated onto your teammates. Anything that they can do to themselves is going to get replicated onto you. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, let's show the basic combos. So you can either Temporal Anomaly, or you can use some natural echoes. You can Verdant Embrace to enter into Lightbind. You can also, when you Verdant Embrace, press your Renewing Blaze, because Renewing Blaze does transfer through Lightbind. And then you can follow it up with something powerful at the end of this inside this Lightbind window. So as I mentioned, Renewing Blaze does transfer through Lightbind. Really, really powerful. A lot of times in Lightbind windows, like you can just Renewing Blaze and like use smaller things inside that window. The biggest thing that you want to be aware of when doing a Lightbind ramp is of course the major cooldown, which is of course our Emerald Communion. This is our standard way of life binding. So you can echo this person, Burn Embrace. As you can see, we have a life bind window. And then we can Emerald Commune. This is our strongest cooldown, and it's one of the strongest cooldowns in the game, is to create a life bind window and then press Emerald Communion. It's a massive, massive, massive cooldown. I mean, I just can't say enough about it. It does so, so, so much healing. So this is like the first life bind that you want to be aware of. As I mentioned, you can put a health potion in there. You can put a lock rock in there if you're foolish enough to group with a warlock. Just kidding, they're cool. You can put a life spark proc in there. Interestingly enough, you see we have a life spark here. If you Verdant Embrace, to get into that life bind window, and then you press one of these life spark, like these procs. I mean, you can go as high as 1.5 million with just the life proc, or with the life spark proc off the back of a Verdant Embrace, because of Call of Ysera. So inside that life bind window, that can translate to just a massive, massive, massive amount of healing. One little trick that I like to do is go into the life bind window. When I go into that life bind window, make sure that I have 2 of the life spark procs, and then I can just send back-to-back life spark procs into that window. The first one will of course be boosted by Burn Embrace, so we're in life bind, boom, and then send our second one. So this is a what a really, really apocalyptic prepping kind of lifeline ramp could look like. You can Temporal Anomaly, spread a bunch of reversions, throw out a bunch of echoes on your full party, Burden Embrace with Renewing Blaze, into whatever our option is to exploit that lifeline window. So let's talk a little bit about Stasis. Basically, we're doing the same Stasis combo over and over and over. I showed it to you. I'll show it to you one more time. And that Stasis combo looks like this. I'm just going to do it really quickly. It's good, but it's Verdant Embrace, Stasis, Temporal Anomaly, Dream Breath, and then Spirit Bloom. This is like almost every context. It's just going to look like this. And that's basically it. That said, like into, we're going to use this into rot damage. Into, big burst damage, we can go Burn Embrace, Stasis, Temporal Anomaly, Spirit Bloom on 4, and then just DB on 1. That said, it's pretty rare that you actually want to put TA Spirit Bloom into your Stasis. There's just not many damage events that where like your team is just getting like clapped and then there's just like no damage whatsoever after. And if there is any kind of like follow-up damage, you want to have the double Dream Breath kind of rolling. So into burst damage, with a dot, you can TA Dream Breath on 1, Spirit Bloom on 4. This is what I just showed you. And then, of course, you can mass Dispel with your Stasis by going Stasis, Dispel Party 1, Dispel Party 2, Dispel Party 3. And then once that, once the debuff that needs to be dispelled comes out, you pop the Stasis. Really important that if you do this, you are dry firing. And you'll see a lot of tech this season where Evokers are, basically like firing off a Renewing Blaze on Party 1, Party 2. I'm sorry, firing off a Cauterize on Party 1, Party 2, and then themselves. And then like a bunch of bleeds come out, like the Tree Boss and Agathar Academy, and then they release the Stasis, dispel all the bleeds. We're very good at mass dispelling bleeds, which is kind of only a Dragonflight thing. Maybe it's something that'll happen in the future as well. Who knows? Just to keep it simple though, just Verdant Embrace, Stasis, TA, DB1, SP4. One piece of advice that I wanted to give you is that you're probably thinking way too hard about Stasis. If you have this ability available and you have Temporal Anomaly and Dream Breath, you pretty much always just send Stasis. Never hold it. Don't think I'm holding this for like something specific. That's foolish. Just send it if you have it. Always, 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 you're just pressing Stasis. It is so, so integral to the way that this class plays out. And whenever you have it, you're just going to press it. Stasis ensures that you have Dream Breath coverage that lasts for, you know, like a minute or something, like between the the Dream Breath, double Dream Breath into Stasis, double Dream Breath into just the Natty double Dream Breath again. Is basically by the time like you're getting back around to the Stasis again, like you've had almost full coverage, and then you just use it to do the same. Always send it if you have it. Which is something else I wanted to talk about here. We are a cooldown oriented spec. We have a lot of powerful cooldowns. So never really think about like, oh, I need to hold them. Just send it. You have a lot of other options. And once you get to the point where you need those options, you'll have those. It's not a big deal. Pretty chill. Are we actually bad at healing tanks? This is a myth. We are not bad at healing tanks. We are very, very good at healing tanks. Echo Reversion is one of the most powerful spot heals. If there's only tank damage, you can use your Stasis just to maintain double Dream Breath on your tank alone, and you can even, instead of putting a Temporal Anomaly, just put a natural Echo into Dream Breath, into you know, like a Spirit Bloom on one, or just like a Verdant Embrace on your tank, you know, whatever it is. You can use your Stasis just for tank healing if you need to. Fire Breath is a really, really big tank heal. Like usually like your tank will go into a pool, they'll kind of dip, and you're fire breathing. It's going to be like this lay on hands kind of thing that happens. Yeah, TD is pretty good, but it's definitely not free. If you do time dial your tank, make sure that you're able to heal that bleed that TD leaves. Make sure that they're aware of the fact that they have a big bleed as well. Don't let them deal with it on their own, because they might not be expecting it. That's just something to think about. Let's talk a little bit about big damage. It's pretty simple. Fire Breath on cooldown, Deep Breath on cooldown. We want to use our Leaping Flames procs only if we have a fully filled Scarlet Adaptation, which as you can see here, we do have a fully filled Scarlet Adaptation. And the other thing that we want to use our Leaping Flames procs on is, or guarantee before we use our Leaping Flames procs, is that we have a Life Spark proc. So after we send out our Fire Breath, we want to make sure that we have a Life Spark, that our Scarlet Adaptation is all the way filled, and then boom. There you go. And that's pretty much all there is to it as far as damage goes. There is one thing that I wanted to show you guys before the end of this little tutorial. And that is, of course, one of the hardest bosses in this particular dungeon pool. I think it's also like pretty illuminating in terms of how this class plays. So we are of course going to watch Kajin gameplay. This was a 15 tyrannical. At the time, I think I was like a little over 500 item level, maybe like, I'm honestly not even sure, 509, 510 item level. So my item level was quite low. This is a week 1, 15, so it was very big. At the time, this was a world first for preservation. I don't think another preservation actually even healed this key last week. I think the highest for world second preservation was a 13. And at the time, the highest was, I think, ours. I think this was rank 1 world when we did it. So yeah, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about this boss, and let's see some of these combos we've been talking about in practice.
I'm applying for a job as a teacher.
So one thing you see that I've done here is I'm going to go ahead and get full mana. Prior to getting full mana, I send out a TA because I'm banking on the fact that I want to have a lot of reversions out. So I'm like watching these tick down, watching my mana. You'll see me jump up here, and I'll go ahead and spread some reversions. Make sure that you go into this fight with reversions on the squishiest party members. You always want to have double reversion on yourself if you can help it, to keep your mastery online. And here, like our Devastation Evoker is quite squishy, so I try to maintain those on our Dev Evoker. So right before we pull, I'll go ahead and burn Embrace. This gives me the Call of Ysera buff. And then I do my standard combo, Stasis, Temporal Anomaly, Dream Breath on 1. Next thing I want to do is fire off a Fire Breath max empowerment level to get Leaping Flames, and then use this Life Spark proc, which has just popped up, by sending it off the boss to replenish those health bars before we press our Spirit Bloom. Unfortunately, our Fire Breath is a little bit bugged at the moment, and sometimes just fires off on 1, which is what you see here. A little bit frustrating, so I do have to instantly Spirit Bloom. And then this is really important. As soon as we cast that Spirit Bloom, as soon as our Stasis combo has been achieved, first thing I'm going to do is just immediately rush down as many Echo reversions as I can. Echo, 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 reversion. Echo, reversion. See, I press Verdant Embrace here. Reversion again. So my double dream breath has fallen off. I've noted this in the back of my head, which means that I want to go ahead and release the stasis to put it back on. I also go ahead and fire off a fire breath max empowerment level so that I get the full benefit of the leaping flames off the boss. So here on the spread, I'm going to go ahead and spread some echo reversions. And I send the leaping flames off the boss. I actually had the bug again, which is unfortunate. My double dream breath has fallen off. So I look to refresh the double dream breath on everyone. Almost let our rogue die. This is a very big key. So we're definitely hurting quite a bit. So here is something that is really important. For the first time in this fight, I am unable to have double dream breath on the party. This is when your team is in peril. For pretty much every fight that there is, once you get to that point in your kind of stasis sequence where you don't have double dream breath any longer, you need to fill this space with a cooldown. So what I'm going to choose to do here is actually enter into a lifeline window. I let everyone tick low intentionally. I open a lifeline window. And then I Emerald Commune everyone back to full. It's really good on this spread here as well because everyone stays nice and safe. Now Zephyr. Go ahead and pop a Spirit Bloom. And then of course we get our natural Dream Breath back. So we go ahead and put double Dream Breath on the full party. Look to spread as many reversions as we can. Fire Breath max empowerment level. Use those leaping flames for a heal. Remember, we're using every single part of the buffalo. I don't like that expression, but yeah. So at this point in the fight, I start looking at something that's pretty important. At this point in the fight, we have our stasis coming up. We want to make sure that all of these moving parts line up at the same time. That we have stasis available, that we have temporal anomaly available, that we have dream breath available, and that we have spirit bloom available. So it looks like we are not going to be like perfectly synced up, which means that somewhere I made a slight infraction in my sequencing. So I turn into a lifeline window. My scales usage is abysmal here. Absolutely abysmal. And so here we've got our stasis back. Temporal anomaly dream breath. I actually missed the Call of Ysera buff here, which is really bad. Never do that. I did that without a koi buff. It's really rough. If I'd been a little better with my skills usage, things would have been a little bit different. So it goes. Ugh. So here we're going to use our frog trinket. Spread some more versions. I still have my stasis. I don't know why I sat on it this long. I sat on that longer than I actually had to. But we release the stasis to get double dream breath back up. I tipped the scales. I'm sorry, no I didn't. Dream breath falls off. Do it again. Go back to spreading reversions. Put our spirit bloom on cooldown. We actually still have access to rewind. I should press. I do press rewind here. Looks good. Buy myself a little bit of respite. Don't have a lot of mana. Looks like I use a mana potion. It's good. And the fight is almost over at this point. Spread some more reversions. At this point, it doesn't really matter what we do, because our tank is just going to finish the fight in the event that something catastrophic happens. But I still spread some reversions, it looks like. Send a life spark proc with those echoes. Whatever. Doesn't matter too much. And there you have it. This was week 1 and the throughput requirements. I think I'm about to show healing here while I'm drinking. Was around 480k, I think. A little bit under 500k. And that is how we heal Kajin. I believe it was 480k is what I was doing. Let's see if I even show it. I don't even think I do until after. Yeah, I don't. I was too focused to this at this point in time. Yeah, there you have it. Let's see here. Boom. Welcome back, everybody. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my season 4 guide. I did want to touch on like a handful of things that I hadn't touched on before. One thing that like I think that everyone should definitely be keeping in mind is you're looking to get as high a time of double dream breath as you possibly can. Fill in the gaps with echo reversion. Send stasis off cooldown, almost literally off cooldown. And be aware of like the various ways in which you can burst heal and so forth. That said, that's all I really got for this particular guide. I hope you found it informative. If you have any questions, definitely come to my Twitch at twitch.tv/eylashtv or drop them down in the comments. If you have any other interesting tech that you found for Preservation Evoker, be sure to let me know about it. Yeah, with that said, Godspeed everyone. I will see y'all next time.